Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel. As you can see, we've got a pretty big box here to unbox, courtesy of Jester. Now let me explain why this is courtesy of Jester. So if you remember back when I played Appa Hockey on the channel last month, I actually basically turned on it after that game of Appa Hockey because I was in the middle at the time of testing my sports sims for what I could use for season replays. And unfortunately, Appa Hockey didn't pass muster on the test I was doing because my plan with Appa Hockey was I was going to do a third period test with it and then try doing a ticker tape test using final score hockey, which for hockey season replays is going to be the ticker tape I use for those games. So Appa Hockey didn't pass the test, and after that last video, I knew, okay, I knew I wanted to get rid of Appa Hockey. The only question was how I was going to get rid of it. So it was at that point where Jester reached out to me and he said, hey, why don't we work out a trade for your Appa Hockey stuff since you're going to get rid of it anyway? So he sent me a list of a bunch of games that he was planning on getting rid of. So I browsed the list, found a few things that caught my eye, and was like, hey, what about these? So we worked out a trade, and this is the product of that. Now, the reason I know some of what's in here, but not all of what's in here, is because Jester said he threw a few surprises in here. So we're going to find out what those surprises are. But without further ado, let's say we get this open and see what's all in here. Thankfully, Jester is very good about not doing too many excess tape jobs. Or not doing too excessive a tape job. Just enough to keep everything sealed, but otherwise very manageable. And it's starting to hit me a little bit more now that my 1985 season replay is over. I was going to do an unboxing last night, but I decided not to because I didn't want to run into a case of where part of my intros is still, and welcome back to the 1985 season in season ticket baseball. Thankfully, I didn't run into that problem because the Expos actually won the World Series on Saturday over the Tigers by taking Game 5 by a final score of 4-1. But enough rambling on that. We'll have more to say about 1985 during the 1985 season recap and reveal show, which is scheduled for Sunday, April 20th. That's likely a pretty firm date at this point. So if you want it, so stop by and you can see. We'll talk about the 1985 season along with revealing what the next sports project for the summer is going to be. But without any further ado, let's crack the box open and see what we've got in here. Hopefully not going too excessive with that. And the first thing that we're greeted by in here, looks like we've got all the cards here for the 1993-94 season of Inside the Crease Hockey. Unlike Appa, Inside the Crease Hockey is one of the hockey sims I feel comfortable using in a full season replay. So those will need to get sorted into teams. And this is one of the things I knew was going to be in here. So that's very welcome there. Like I said, that'll have to get sorted in nothing flat. And over here on the side, we've got another game that I knew was going to be in here. So the next thing we're greeted by that I knew was going to be in here is a game called Shadows of Kilforth by, this looks like it's by, I don't see who it's actually by. Well, it's a Fantasy Quest game, which is a lot of what made it catch my eye. All or Nothing. It's not a company I've ever heard of before. Far along the eastern frontiers of Kilforth, the malignant gloom has returned. The ancients lurk in the shadows, conducting their terrible affairs once more. New, terrifying, and pernicious creatures emerge from beyond the veil. But as new threats rise, new heroes gather their arms and their wits to meet them. From the frail safety of the ancient arms and their from the frail safety of the ancient shrine of Monoshoba, a small band of heroes ventures forth. Time is fleeting, the enemy numberless, and the ancients voracious. Through the descending gloom, against all odds, the heroes must prove themselves worthy, lest their sagas fade into legend. From the award-winning team behind Gloom of Kilforth, a Fantasy Quest game, the sellout game from Tabletop Gaming Magazine's Top 10 Games of the Year, and 1066 Tears to Many Mothers, the beautiful historical card game nominated for a Golden Geek Award and an Origins Award and winner of a 2018 Best Art Award, Shadows of Kilforth, a fantasy quest game, is the ultimate RPG adventure experience in a dark world of gothic high fantasy. In Shadows of Kilforth, 1 to 4 heroes must work cooperatively or race against each other to brave the perils of the gorgeous eastern wilderness of Kilforth, explore ancient ruins, solve mysterious quests, and survive terrible monsters. Unimaginable treasures and untold riches reward the bold, and horrific fates await the foolhardy. Now, I'm going to do a full unboxing of this later, but one thing Jester likes to do sometimes is throw samples of other games in here. So I'm just going to take a glance in here, see if anything else is lurking in here as a sample. Does not look like it this time, at least not in this game. Okay, so we can put that off to the side. Shadows of Kilforth was something I knew was going to be in here. Next, we're greeted by a game that I didn't know was going to be in here. That is Nemo's War by Victory Point Games. Looks like it's based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Carve out your own 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Nemo's War is an adventure game of underwater exploration and combat circa 1870. You are Captain Nemo, commander of the magnificent Nautilus, an underwater vessel beyond compare. You will search the wild seas, combat vessels of all nations, brave the hazards of the deep, find mysterious treasures, behold and chronicle amazing wonders, and travel around the world in your quest for knowledge and vengeance. Based on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. Features solo gameplay with a 2 to 4 player co-op variant included. Okay, nice. And similarly, we'll do a full unboxing of that before I go too far. And let's see what else we're greeted by in here. Wait a second. In here, next we've got a copy of Legends of Wrestling card game with some of the different legends in here. Legends of Wrestling are here. You'll be able to schedule... Now, here's the chance to run your own wrestling federation. You'll be able to schedule classic matches pitting Jimmy Snuka against Nature Boy Buddy Rogers or the Road Warriors against the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. How about Ox Baker versus the Sandman in a cage match? Or Nick Bockwinkel versus Ted DiBiase in a Texas death match? It's your call. You're the promoter and booker, and you'll have the greatest wrestling roster in history at your fingertips. Looks like these are all of the components for that, so we'll throw these in the boxes so I can keep everything together. We'll go through that. At some point, that'll help me figure out what all I need. See if we can smooth out this box so I can actually use it for storage. I think we got that pretty well sorted out. I won't lie, this is a game, Jester mentioned it to me a while back, and I was looking into it off and on. I had a sneaking suspicion it was going to be in here, but I wasn't completely sure that it was. We can get more void fill out of here. And let's see what we've got in here. That's easy does it here. Oh, wow. Okay, looks like we have got a ton more wrestlers for Legends of Wrestling, along with some printed out stuff. I'm not going to go through every single wrestler here, but we got Blackjack Mulligan, the Big Boss Man, Bubba Ray Dudley from ECW, Devon. These are just some of the highlights as I'm going through everything in here. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I'm not going to sift through absolutely everything in here, but I've got a whole ton of wrestlers in here. So I've got a couple of wrestling games I can experiment with. I also cut everything out for at least what I've got for TV Pro Wrestling 2 by Downey Games. So when I go to start giving wrestling games another look, that's another thing I can look into. The reason I'm looking into wrestling games a little bit more, well, I've always been a big fan of wrestling over the years. I've never really found a good tabletop game for wrestling. I tried out not All Elite. What's the game called? Opening Closet Door. Oh, there it is. All Time Wrestling by Katie and Arts. I tried that last year. But I wasn't all that impressed by it, so I guess Jester wanted to send me some new wrestling games to try out. So thank you for that, Jester. Let's see what else we've got in here. What in the world else have we got in here? Wait. Oh, I see what we've got here. Looks like we've got more of the... Looks like we've got more of the 93-94 season in here in some of these binder. Well, I don't know if these are binder sheets or what these are. So yeah, we got more of the 93-94 season in here, which I'm going to need to figure out how I want to store everything. Let me make sure I've got everything for that season out of here. All right, so like I said, I knew the 93-94 season for Inside the Crease. That's for Inside the Crease hockey, by the way. I knew that was going to be in here as well. Let's see what else we've got in here. Looks like we've got 2 more seasons from Inside Sports. This one is the 2014-15 season, also of Inside the Crease hockey. Never come out of the shrink wrap, so I'll have to tear this and sort this out as well. It is a printed season, though, and the might be a little bit hard to see there. But there are perforations in this paper, so I will be able to sort all of that out. So very cool there. And then also in here, I knew this was going to be in here. This is the 2009-10 season of Inside the Crease hockey. Wait a second, let me look at something. I just want to make sure of something. I'll be right back. Well, that's what I was afraid of. I've now got a second printed copy of 2009-10 Inside the Crease hockey. This is actually one of the seasons that's available in the poll to influence my summer 2025 sports project. So actually, I've got a copy of 2009-10 already that's been torn and sorted out. So this is probably, I don't know what I'm going to do with this yet. This might end up going to Noble Night later this year. I haven't completely decided on that yet. Just because like I said, I've already got a printed copy of 2009-10. But 2014-15 and 93-94 are both very much welcome in the collection. And I knew Inside the Crease hockey, I knew those seasons were coming. I didn't know exactly which seasons were coming. The last thing we have in the box is something else I knew was going to be in here. And we can get the box out of the way. So the last thing we're greeted by is Gloom of Kilforth, also by presumably the same company that made Shadows of Kilforth. The land of Kilforth is a perilous domain filled with nefarious monsters, mysterious strangers, and treacherous locations. Throughout the land, various factions vie for power. The supposedly noble Order of the Rose, the terrifying Doomguard, and the evil Overlord Masklot, to name a few. At the heart of Kilforth is the Sprawl, a huge city where intrepid heroes begin their journey to fame and fortune. Over the coming month, a deadly gloom will descend upon Kilforth, through which the heroes must battle to prove their worth, defeat a primordial evil, and save the land from darkness. Gloom of Kilforth is a game of high fantasy with a gothic edge, where 1 to 4 players, working individually or together, assume the roles of heroes on a journey through a dark world of magic and peril. They will visit strange places, stranger people, and defeat powerful enemies in their mission to discover mysterious artifacts and mystical spells. Each player follows their hero's tale, an epic saga from modest beginnings through to a climactic battle that will decide the fate of the world. And I'll check this. Actually, I'm going to check Nemo's War as well. I'm just taking a glance. Okay. Those cards are going to need to get separated. I'll figure out how I want to deal with that a little bit later. But that's Gloom of Kilforth. I'm going to take a quick look in the box for Nemo's War, just to make sure there aren't any surprises. This is just a cursory glance, because sometimes, like I said, okay. Looks like nothing in here. Everything's sleeved. Okay. Like I said, I just wanted to make sure there weren't any surprises, because I know Jester sometimes likes to throw samples of other sports games in here, but he didn't this time. So wow, that's a few new games into the collection. But that's everything in that delivery from Jester. So thank you for everything on the delivery there, Jester. And yeah, I'll definitely be doing some. I've got a lot of new product unboxing that I need to go through at some point in the future here. Probably the not too distant future. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a ticker tape test in Stratomatic Hockey, as that's one of the sims that could be potentially active for the summer 2025 project. So I want to do some testing with that. Saturday, Mystical Munchies will continue out of the Can You Take the Heat cookbook. As speaking of wrestling games, we'll be making the side out of the Can You Take the Heat cookbook, JR's Country Cornbread. Sunday we're continuing the spring campaign in Arkham Horror the card game with the second scenario, To the Forbidden Peaks. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.